In the first part, we learned about the dimensions of the universe, how to determine the width of the universe, how many stars and planets are in the universe. In this part 2, let's join Ask K-pop to find out some other interesting mysteries about our vast universe. When we stand on the ground, there are many factors that affect how far people can see, such as your eyesight, the size of the object, or the curvature of the earth. However, all you can see in the sky is just inside this circle. The most distant stars are also at the outer edge of the circle. This can only be seen in the southern hemisphere under ideal conditions. In astronomy, a black hole is a region of space that has gravity. It is so large that it is impossible for any kind of matter, including light, to escape from the boundary surface. This rules out any possibility of matter escaping from the black hole by the quantum tunneling. In other words, a black hole will swallow everything when it comes close to it. Scientists were surprised to find that in old galaxies, no new stars are formed. Only old stars exist. According to them, a massive black hole may have prevented the formation of young stars. The great gravity of the black hole makes it impossible for the dust and gas to gather to form stars. The gravitational singularity is a point in space at which the density of matter as well as the curvature of space-time are infinite. We have always believed that the universe was formed from the singularity with enormous mass by the Big Bang. According to scientists at the Perimeter Institute in Canada, the universe started from a giant supernova that partially collapsed on its own to form a black hole. It then sucks up the rest of the matter to form a massive singularity. But a regular black hole cannot absorb all of the matter in its surroundings because the event horizon is a 2D plane. Therefore, this black hole must have a 3D event horizon, which means it must be a 4D black hole. While our current universe is only a 3-dimensional universe, we still don't have any information about this 4th dimension. All we can see in space is only 4% of the universe. The remaining 96% we cannot see. We can't even determine what the rest of the universe is. Some scientists call it dark energy or dark matter. Unfortunately, there is still no way to decipher what dark energy or dark matter is. We can work with mathematical formulas and estimate the gravity of these entities, but there is still no sure way of proving how the invisible part of the universe was made. It is still a very mysterious thing. We all know that the universe is an empty place with more than 99% of the universe being empty. In those places, only quantum-level molecules exist, and there are no planets, stars, or galaxies. However, because of the relatively spread distribution of the celestial bodies, these voids do not extend too much. But in the region of the constellation Eridanus, there is a super empty region with an area up to 1 billion light years. Here, there is absolutely no matter whether it is gas, stars, or rocks. They are simply a vast black. Many theories have been put forward by scientists. For example, some say that this is the entrance to another parallel universe. Others say this is a massive black hole that we don't know. The view that we live in the universe, which is one of the many existing universes, is becoming more and more accepted. It is derived from the theory of eternal inflation. This theory holds that after the Big Bang, space and time expanded at different rates and in different places. This could lead to the possibility of separate bubble universes or parallel universes. Space junk comes from the rocket parts discarded during the launch or damaged satellites. These objects orbit the Earth at a speed of more than 28,000 kilometers per hour, which is 10 times the speed of bullets. The Space Surveillance Network, SSN, is tasked with keeping track of how much debris is there and who is responsible for it. The SSN is currently tracking 23,000 objects of the size of a softball. Space junk seems harmless, but it is extremely dangerous because just one collision can lead to a series of chain reactions that cause other objects to collide, forming a cloud of dust around the Earth. This is dangerous for space travelers. This disaster was mentioned in the movie Gravity, 2013, starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. The United States is responsible for most space debris, with 3,990 pieces of debris since March 28, 2018. Russia is responsible for 3,959 pieces of debris, followed by China with 3,893 pieces of debris. In space, the air inside your lungs will expand, and your body will use up all the oxygen in your blood within 15 seconds. Terrible consequences will occur when you take off your spacesuit, which is loss of bowel control, hot blood, exploding capillaries, and bloating. This is what will happen to the human body going into space without a protective suit. This scene is depicted in many Hollywood sci-fi movies. Although we are barely aware of this in everyday life, the human body while living on Earth is constantly under pressure from the atmosphere. But the pressure inside our body will push back to maintain balance. However, since outer space is a vacuum, it won't have the same atmospheric pressure as it does on Earth. Therefore, if suddenly jumping into space without the protection of the protective suit, the human body will fall into a sudden decompression state. In the past, there have been several cases of accidents that occurred when the human body was in a state of exposure to a vacuum environment or was suddenly decompressed. In 1965, an accident occurred at Johnson Space Center when a technician entered a vacuum chamber that had been accidentally switched on. He passed out after about 12 to 15 seconds. After 27 seconds, the inside of the vacuum chamber was pressurized again, bringing the technician back to life. Although this guy lost his sense of taste for about 4 days after the accident, his body has since recovered safely. In an accident in 1982, a technician was exposed to a low-pressure environment equivalent to only 3.6 atmospheric pressure for 1 minute. The incident caused his skin to turn blue and bleed in his lungs. This man also later recovered safely from the accident. Another problem that is often mentioned when people go to space is temperature. In space, the temperature outside in sunlight is approximately 121 degrees Celsius, and the temperature out of the sun is about minus 157 degrees Celsius. This sounds terrible. However, since there is no air in the universe, heat is not transferred to the human body through air, nor is it transferred by convection. Radiation is the only way heat can travel through space in the universe. But this way of heat transfer takes time, so humans will die from lack of oxygen before dying from heat. An astronaut floating in space without a spacesuit certainly wouldn't be able to survive, but their death would happen within minutes, not seconds. And it would be an unpleasant death, with the body fluids boiling, the nose and mouth almost frozen. When looking at the sky, many people will wonder, why is space beyond Earth black? Specifically, this phenomenon is also known as the Obers Paradox, named after the German astronomer Heinrich Wilhelm Olbers. In 1823, he announced if the universe were infinite, full of stars, timeless, and in a static form, we would see planets everywhere. This is similar to when standing in a forest. You look around you, but do not see an empty space but only trees. However, Edwin Hubble later discovered that the expanding universe, not at all static, the thermal radiation left over from the Big Bang showing that the universe was 13.8 billion years old. We see black and don't see stars everywhere because they are too far away from humans, and so far their light has not reached the Earth. If two pieces of metal collide in space, they will stick together forever. This may sound hard to believe, but it's true. Two pieces of raw and uncoated metal will form a single piece in space. However, this is not possible on Earth because the atmosphere has created a layer of oxidized metal covering the metal pieces. Scientists discovered this particular phenomenon thanks to an experiment so far unique to spur a reaction. It is a cold welding experiment. Fortunately for us, this is not a big problem on space stations because all metal equipment is brought up from Earth. To learn more interesting things about space and the vast universe, subscribe to Ask K-pop TV to discover the best information together. Bye, and see you in the next videos.